Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. I'm your co-host, Strat Daddy. We are missing Captain America today. We have Captain COVID here, Mr. Jason Pritchard, Mr. Cubano, Robert Vazquez. Thank you so much for coming on here at Deal Champs. Real quick, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share it with your friends if it brings you any value. And then our whole goal here is to help and empower you guys by bringing on real entrepreneurs from across the country and having them give value. Every single podcast we've done, Jason, myself, and Dean all learn, and we're able to implement new things into our businesses. That is the main reason we do this. If you are listening to this, drop a comment, tell us where you're from. We'd love the interaction. If you guys do have questions, it's a live show. We'd love to hear your questions, see what you have to say. But real quick, my name's Stratton Brown. Like I said, I have a 7-figure real estate portfolio. We primarily buy creatively. We show people how to get their first wholesale deal in real estate, and we own a virtual assistant company. And then we have not the captain of COVID, the master of COVID, Jason Pritchard.
Back and in business, man. I'm all healed up and ready to go. What's up, guys? It's your other co-host. I'm Jason Pritchard. Backstory on me, quick backstory. I worked in corporate America for about 15 years in sales and sales management. Went all into real estate in 2014. We burned the boats and just jumped in. Since then, we've flipped and wholesaled probably close to 400 projects, own a rental portfolio of over 100 units, mainly here in Central California. And our goal and my goal with this podcast is just to try to transfer as many of the things that I've learned to you guys that are watching here. Real estate has absolutely changed my life, and we want to give you guys as much valuable information as we can. Really excited to have our guest Robert on here and get him sharing his journey and his backstory. So, yeah, man, excited.
Mr. Cubano, young Cubano,
sir.
please introduce yourself.
It's funny how you started off the captain introductions, because yesterday, we did a highest and best meetup, and they're like, dude, it's supposed to be a Halloween costume. Why are you not wearing your Halloween costume? I'm sitting there with my new Countrywide shirt. I'm like, bullshit. I'm Captain Countrywide. All right. I'm rescuing homeowners one house at a time. I'm in gear, so I was fully, so right now I'm Captain Countrywide. All right. So we'll play along that. But, in terms of what my journey, my introduction, or what I'm doing,
give a quick synopsis of what you're doing, and give us an intro into how you got into what you're doing and everything else.
Well, right now I try to acquire businesses or own businesses that have anything and everything to do with real estate. So everything that a real estate transaction touches in terms of every single vertical, I currently own. With respect to my title company, we've been putting a lot of effort into that. We're now in 9 states. I'm happy about that. We're trying to shoot for 25 states by the end of the year. It's a very good, lucrative business. We are state certified general contractors, builders, developers. We have our fund. I'm a mortgage lender. We have hard money, real estate brokerage. So we literally do everything here in-house. My focus here lately has been my affordable housing projects. That's something that's been really that's my passion project. It's something that makes me personally happy, and it's something that gives me purpose. Right now, there's a lot of things we're working on, man. It's like I wish there was more time in the day. There's a lot of people that I look at them as clock watchers. They're like, they can't wait for the day to be over at 5 o'clock. I feel like my day starts at 5 o'clock, and I'm up. I'm at the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock hits, and I see certain people leaving my office. I'm like, this is now my crunch time. This is where I'm going to get in my power zone, where I'm able to kind of strategize and say, okay, this is where I'm going to plan my next steps, or whatever the case is. So I love what I do. I know a lot of people where they work to retire, they work to try to exit or escape, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just love what I do, man. And my kids are all grown up. This is something I'm really happy, doing. And I'm just trying to figure out a way to kind of take over the world. The old show, Pinky in the Brain, every single day, this is me. I'm just trying to figure out a way to take over the world. And that's it. That's just a short answer, man.
I love that, man. And I think that's a really good nugget that people can pick up on, because I think when you get into business for yourself, a lot of times it's like, oh, you make your own schedule and your time freedom. And I work more freaking hours that I do now than I ever did when I was in corporate America, man. Lots of 16 and 18-hour days. The difference is I love it. And so for me, it's never really felt like work, man. You know what I mean? And that's what has been really enjoyable, and I think gives us that extra edge and advantage. Why don't you tell the listeners, Robert? I mean, we got a cool tagline: losing it all in 2008, in the crash. Now you're doing 700K months, right? Talk to us a little bit about your journey and just what that looked like when you got started into all the cool stuff that you're doing now.
I ran away at 14 years old, and I never went back home. So that was something that was a
Wow.
really big, tough change, tough kind of experience for me. But it's something that, it is what it is. I look at originally where and how I grew up as I don't want to say as a handicap, but I looked at it in the past as a handicap, where now I look at it as my success story. I look at a lot of people that, they didn't graduate high school, they didn't go to college, and they're wildly successful, and I'm a product of, self-education. What I'm doing now is not what I ever thought I'd be doing, to be honest with you. I'm first generation American. So when you're growing up and you're seeing everyone working their asses off, I grew up, helping my mother clean up offices at night. And I remember like sitting there looking at glasses at an optometrist office we were cleaning, thinking like, I would love to be in an office as opposed to working outside. What do I have to do to maybe have an office like this one day? And these are thoughts that just kind of were planted, like seeds that were planted in my mind, but I never thought about it. And, I ended up getting my high school sweetheart pregnant at 16 years old. I got married at 16 years old. I had to get my mother to sign, documentation to emancipate me. At 16 years old, I was an illegal adult. My ex was, when you're pregnant in the state of Florida, I'm not sure how other states, you're already a legal adult, which also proves to be a challenging thing when you're arguing with people like, look, I'm an adult. I'm 16 years old. I'm legally an adult. And, I worked my ass off. It's like, I knew I had to be responsible. I had to get a job. I worked 3 jobs. Initially I left high school. I ended up going back and through not a GED program. I ended up testing out of high school. It was, there was a lot of things that I realized later on I was really good at, that I didn't pay attention to in school, but, I tested out of high school. I had multiple jobs. I feel that, I didn't get fired. I quit every job at the mall right before I got fired. So I feel like I worked at every single place, which gave me a great bit of experience with respect to different sales organizations. Worked at call centers. I worked at a lot of different places. Then I ended up joining the military, and I was like, you know what? I want to do something different. I was making pretty good money at the time. I wasn't doing the right thing, and I was like, I need to kind of escape this life and do something to give me some structure. And I want my son to be proud of me when I get older, and do something. At the time, I was like, let me go join the military. Which, by the way, they completely lied to me. The recruiting poster showed a guy mixing chemicals in a white lab coat. I'm like, yeah, I could do that shit. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not at all what I was doing. I joined, and originally I was a nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare specialist. And next, we had September 11th happen when I get to my first duty station.
Wow.
And the weapon, a war of weapon of mass destruction. Who do they call first? Or NBC guys, the nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare guys. So after the guy says, there's no threat of war, you don't have to worry about anything. You're going to be some air conditioned room mixing some chemicals and shit. That was a crock of shit. So I went through that whole process of, doing my military stand, being scared shitless when I was a kid, not knowing what to expect, and shipping off to go to war and not knowing what it was like, because we were in for the invasion. I got injured, and that put me on a whole negative path. I was really, really lost and depressed. I lost some people. I was injured. I was not happy with being injured. I was taking a shit ton of pain medication. Now you look at where pain medications are now with the whole, opioid, epidemic and shit. And it wasn't like that. The military was really big on treating, not curing, issues. They're like, here, just take some pills and just shut up. Take some pills and shut up. And that proved to have a lot of challenges, a lot of problems that I later learned I had to, overcome. And, I feel like I got out of the military, and then I'm going back to a call center job, and you go from like going into the shit and going into combat theater to sitting in a 3-foot by 3-foot cubicle several years after you left it. I was not in a happy place at all. What am I going to do with my life? And let's just say I was fortunate enough to get into the mortgage industry. And the mortgage industry at a very young age changed my life. I got in at 21 years old. That literally marks, 20. I was 20 years old technically, and that was over 20 years ago. That's 20 years ago now. So that job really just changed the entire trajectory of my life, and it also planted seeds in my life and turned like these light switches on that I think everyone needs to hear certain things in order to understand that you don't need to come from money to have money or to create wealth. And that's something I didn't understand. And that's something that I was very blessed, because that organization really like opened my eyes from like darkness to say, you know what, you're 20 years old and you're going to be able to make, $500,000 this year plus. And we were doing it. Now, at first it was a struggle because I'm looking at everyone's make money. I'm like, this is bullshit. This is not going to happen for me. And I'm looking at guys making $70,000, $80,000, $150,000 quarterly bonuses on top of a $50,000, $70,000 a month. And I'm going, holy shit, this is real. Yeah. And that right there just changed my entire life. And money without education, money without mentorship, and money in Miami at a young age
comes quickly, goes quickly. I imagine, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They taught us, like, it was that boiler room kind of concept. If you walk by the store and you look at the watch, you don't buy it, fuck you, you're not closing enough loans. It was this whole thing of like, they want you to spend it. They're like, if you get a doggy tray, fuck you, you're not closing enough loans. I'm like, but I love my doggy trays, I'm like, okay, hungry later, but they kind of pushed that whole concept. And I'll be honest with you, it was a stark realization, because even when I left, I had this whole arrogant nature about myself that when I started my company, I was like, I'm the CEO of just one person, but I was like, I'm in charge of me. And that took me a couple of years. I mean, the 2008 crash really, really honestly humbled me. When I was 23 years old when I bought my first house, I was 25 when I lost it. You go from making all this money. That month that the market crashed, had a $42 million pipeline. I was set to make over $2 million in a month. And I'm sitting there like, loans are coming to me. I'm burning up money. We're having a great time. And next, before I knew it, it's like the world literally just fell overnight. It was just like, it was unbelievable. Taylor Beam and Whitaker went down, Bear Stearns. You're having people with 800 credit scores with putting 50% down that couldn't get a mortgage. The world was literally falling, and my entire business was eradicated overnight.
Lots to unpack, and I want to go back to the beginning of your story. I'm a big mindset person, and I feel like a lot of these experiences, especially the things that we perceive as like setbacks or struggles at the beginning, are the things that set us up for some of our biggest wins. So talk to me about, I heard you say you ran away at 14, emancipated at 16, married, pregnant, military after you joined. Like, and then 9/11 happens, like all of those things. What were some of the takeaways maybe that you can share with the people that are watching now that are struggling, going through some of these things, that are maybe kind of at that rock bottom or like struggling with that stuff? What were the things that you took from that you applied, not just to that transition into the mortgage industry, Robert, but also what you're, using now in your business on a day-to-day?
Relentless forward progression. Relentless forward progression. Understand that, I think Steve Harvey said it, or at least I heard him say it, that, if you're going through hell, why stop? You got to punch through it. And there's a lot of people that get stuck, or maybe they're used to psychologically speaking, like used to like having turmoil or whatnot. But where you are today and then your current environment is not where you're always going to stay. You have the ability to pick yourself up and move. The question is how uncomfortable are you willing to be? There's a lot of people that have great potential, but they don't feel that they don't subscribe to the belief that discomfort is something they want to endure. And I've learned that I could beat anything that's coming to me. All I have to do is just last a couple minutes longer than the situation I win. So it's like that concept. And I love how David Goggin talks about like his favorite scene in that Rocky movie, when Rocky's getting punched in the face and Apollo's beating the ever living shit out of him. And he thinks that Rocky's down and out for the count. And he turns around and he sees him, that moment of like just defeat when he sees Rocky getting back up. That's who I am. That's who I believe I resonate with, is that person that I've been hit in the face so many times that come hell or high water, you're going to have to kill me, because I'm always going to get up. I'm going to be bruised. I'm going to be bleeding, as I just shared with you. I snap my legs going snowboarding. I'm duct taping my ankles I'm going back in, guys. Because I'm committed. I want to do this. So I believe that anyone and everyone has the ability to do that. So one of the things I did take away from the military was, and I believe everyone has this inside of them, but naturally when you feel a little bit of pain, it's your body's reaction to say stop, right? It's a safety mechanism. This hurts, stop. When people are running, like, oh, I can't run. No, you're just uncomfortable and something might hurt. That doesn't mean you can't do it, right? And one of the things I learned in the military is that not only can you push past pain or push through pain, I've also learned that through creative thinking, there's solutions to everything. And I think that, for example, like the key to be a millionaire, it isn't impossible. It's a mathematical equation. You're here. You got to get to here. What is that variable? And when I looked at things, that's the easiest way I look at it is, in order to become rich, I have to figure out a mathematical equation. I have this much money or I have no money. Whatever that truth is, it is the truth. It is where you are. So it gives you your starting point. It gives you your baseline. So in order to get to there, there's a million different paths to it. How many people have read stories or success stories of people that said, I've come from nothing and I've made it? Then the question is can you do it? Oh no, my situation's different. Is it? Or is that
really?
Is that the bullshit you tell yourself? Is it the truth or is it your truth? So I think the biggest takeaway that I got from the military was just like, again, solidifying the fact that, anything is possible. You just have to beat and go through the pain.
So let's stay right there in that lane for a second. So I heard you say, coming from first generation, all these struggles at the beginning, right? I think a lot of people come from nothing or very little means. Was it just as simple as you being in proximity to the people in that first mortgage company that you were at? Was that all that you needed to believe like, oh, wow, I can have a 6-figure month. I can make these types of bonuses. Was it that, or was there something else that clicked? Because I know for me, the proximity was a huge thing. I just needed to be around people that were doing it. And then I was like, well, shit, if this guy can do it, I can, you know what I mean? Like I'm smart enough to figure it out too. Or was there something else that was part of that equation for you?
I think if, I don't know how to explain this. I guess it's hate. When I say hate,
I love it.
Hate motivates me. And doubters motivate me. And I remember like when I first got in the mortgage industry, I mean, talking to my mom. Okay. I love my mom. I ran away from her for a reason, but the negativity she gave me when I got into the industry, I mean, you had to hear my mom, oh, my son, Donald Trump over here, and all this shit. It was just like, oh, he's going to make it. The big mortgage guy now, the big Donald Trump. I bought her house for her. This is something, and I don't mean to say it in a bad way. This is something that makes me so fucking proud to be able to have done that.
Yeah.
And again, being able to take it on the chin for so many years where, it's like, wow, you know what? I doubted him and a lot of people doubted me. And those same people are saying, hey, can I have a job? I'm not the only person who's gone through that situation. Yeah. So the process of never giving up, look, I understood that I want to be successful. I didn't know that mortgage business was going to make me successful. I didn't know that was going to evolve initially into title and real estate and everything else. That was an evolution. It's an evolution that I wanted to do this. And a lot of people say I'm doing too much. Am I doing too much or are you doing too little? The question is are you holding me back with your statements? Because, to be fair, are you giving me good advice because you're giving me love and you're trying to share things with me? Or is it that the information you're giving me could potentially hold me back from achieving something bigger? I can tell you right now, my goal, and I'm saying this because I believe manifestation of thought, I want to be the next Blackstone. I want to be the next BlackRock. I want to be the next Vanguard. So when I'm building up companies, nothing's going to happen unless I state it's going to happen. And that's how it happens. You say something and I'm setting a goal that's wildly, potentially unimaginable for people. And if it happens, it happens. If I fall short and I settle with a couple $100 million under management, wow.
Yeah.
What a failure.
Big failure. Yeah.
Yeah. Big failure. Fuck you. That's the way I roll with it. It's like, and I mean to say that like I love haters. I can't, I don't know how else to say it. And I say that with respect because, sometimes I feel like if I don't have enough people doubting me, then something's going wrong. And
I think we all have that gear on this call. Stratton and I have talked about this too, but I operate very well when I've got a chip on my shoulder. And so for me, like when I'm the same way. And at the beginning, I had a lot of people questioning me and it was similar, like friends and family members, right? They're like, you're walking away from this job and you're going to do real estate. You don't even know how to do anything when it comes to like, what are you doing? Right. And that type of stuff is just like rocket fuel for me, dude. I love it. I eat that shit up and I can, if I need to find a second gear to like dig deeper, I can think back to those things and it's very easy for me to push that button internally. I love it.
100%. I think you're muted.
Bro, sorry. Have you gone to rehab for your software addiction yet?
No. So much worse. So much worse than it was before. It's so much worse than it was before. I dropped $244,000 last year in software. I'm actually developing a couple different pieces of tech right now. I'm launching something here that's going to be pretty interesting and revolutionary, in my opinion, in the real estate space, and I'll be launching it Q1. So I'll share that with you. I'll share that with you later.
For those of you guys who don't know, I met Robert 3 years ago. I met him 3 years ago.
I think. Three now.
He shared his biggest vice with me was software addictions, to where he has a CRM and 3 different CRMs for every company that he is testing out just to see which one is the best. And then if something tells him that it's going to solve his problem, he's down. So if any of you guys are selling enterprise SaaS, I have your number 1 customer.
Worst vices to have, I guess, in this world than software
It's the
addiction.
number
that's for
1
sure.
worst fucking vice.
I think sometimes less is more, but I'm a big believer, and I have been, that technology will obviously make your life easier, right? To an extent. But I knew, like, way back when, CRM, and I remember, like, maybe that's the vice now, because I remember looking at people like back in the day where you were like an investor fuse. I'm like, well, investor fuse, I can't afford investor fuse right now. That's $250, that's $300 a month. I got to figure out how to get out of this crash, And I'm seeing people that are having these great software, and like, all right, cool. I've amassed 50,000 emails. Don't ask me how I got them, scraped them, Like, now I need to send the mass mailer out. Shit, I can't afford a couple $100 for a constant contact with a 50,000 person subscription, So there's a lot of things that held me back, that I knew that if I had the money to do it, it would help me. And now I'm spending shit ton of money on software, but it's also, I've got 12 different businesses, so it's like different verticals. Now I'm trying to find one that can incorporate, the different businesses, where they can sync to each other or talk to each other. Is that going to happen? Probably not. I'll probably continue to keep spending money. It's a tax write-off anyhow, but I'm over it, dude. It is exhausting. And it is a depressing thing. Or when your team starts working on something, you're like, all right, guys, we're rolling out something new.
Yeah.
This is even better. I'm like, shit, They just learned this one. So I'm really, I've been really good at slowing that aspect of it down. Now I'm just developing new things for our new businesses.
What did the comeback look like at 25, right? Because that can be a volatile age, right? You're still really young, probably a little overconfident, right? You made all that money, right? You think it's never going to end, and that show's never gonna stop, right? So what did picking up the pieces and lifting yourself up out of those ashes look like?
Well, the confidence went away immediately when you lose your house and you have family to support. And the final straw was, you fast forward, I started making it again. I started a nationwide short sale business. Did extremely well. I went from losing absolutely everything to having tens of millions of dollars in like a short period of time, and then losing all of that because of an investigation. And after a 2-year investigation, they give me the green light and they go, hey, you know what? You're one of the good guys. I was petitioning the Federal Trade Commission to make this a regulated industry, according to Florida Statute 494, who can modify or negotiate debt as attorneys or mortgage brokers. I was a mortgage broker. I was petitioning the regulation of this industry. So I thought I was one of the good guys under investigation. And then afterwards they go, you're one of the good guys. Here's a letter, clean bill of health. You're able to be in business. We're going to take this money though. And I was like, you've got to be shitting me. And I transitioned from that going, all right, I learned this term now, and then IDS, identify, discuss, and solve, right? The traction kind of model. Back then, it's like, all right, for every problem, there's a solution, obviously, right? So how can I prevent this from happening again on a larger scale? And I was also trying to figure out at the time how I could shortcut or compress the time to get short sales approved, because some of these things would take me 2 or 3 years to do.
Yeah.
So then I figured, okay, well, if I became the bank, then I could shortcut the process. Like, well, shit, I don't have a couple dollars to my name. How can I become the bank? Problem, solution, mathematical equation. I started learning about distressed debt. And at the same time, I was also trying to figure out, how did I lose my house so quickly? Right? I was one of the first wave of people to lose their houses. I lost it within like 5 months of me missing my first payment. After that, I had people that stayed in their houses for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years. Like, this is bullshit. It's because the first wave, the state of Florida, the judicial system got so overwhelmed with the millions of foreclosures that there was a massive backlog. So lucky and good for other people. I wish I could say lucky for me, but maybe that was a blessing in disguise, because I'll tell you right now, that gave me so much empathy and so much, it gave me the ability to speak to people from a position of truth. And it's something that even now I'll never forget. Even when I talk to my staff and I say, listen, when you're speaking to people in foreclosure, you never disrespect them. It sucks when someone's down. You treat people with respect. You understand? You draw the line in the sand, say, I'm not the bank. I'm here to help you. and there's a profit to be made. I am going to make a profit to be totally fair, but I'm not the bank, and there's an opportunity for me to put money in your pocket. I want to do that for you. But I speak to people from a position of truth, and I share with my staff. I go, you tell people my story, because now you're telling a third party story. You're not selling, you're telling a story, and you're selling through stories. Okay. That's something that has helped us out a lot. But that losing everything right there, and then making it, and then losing it again, and then having my Lincoln Navigator being repoed. I mean, dude, I went through shit. So when people say it's like, you know, it's taken me 20 years right now for me to say that guy's an overnight success.
Yeah.
Dude, I've lost my vehicle. I've lost relationships. I've lost, you know, friendships. I lost a lot throughout the struggle to be successful. But, you know, sometimes less is more. You know, sometimes your circle has to get smaller in order for you to grow. And transitioning to understanding debt, dude, I did my first non-performing note trade, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So it goes to, like, you know, now there's a guru for everything. There's a book for everything. When there was no book on how to do this, you know, there were people that taught about notes, you know, but they didn't, by and large, and explain to the mass public, hey, listen, you can become a capital markets provider. You can pick up the phone and negotiate debt. That happened a few years later. I winged it. I bullshitted my way through my first non-performing note trade, and that gave me a 7-figure payday. I then started learning how to do short sales through what we call coordinated deed in lieu of foreclosures. So I would go after commercial assets, negotiate the debt, while simultaneously, now you can't do this with certain banks. Other banks that were like investment bankers, they didn't give a shit. So I remember, like, specifically through my cousin, hey, contact this hotelier and find out if I buy this debt, I don't want him to do a bankruptcy and then kind of choke this thing up. If I'm able to buy this, in other words, I pretty much worked out a short sale with them where I said, if I buy the debt, I'm going to turn around and sell this to you. That was a $2 million payday. So when you go from, like, losing everything to now doing 7-figure paydays, and I'm looking back at the journey going, wow, I was a fucking originator of a loan. I was a loan officer. Ran my own business, and that grew to multiple loan officers in multiple offices, but still loan officer. So going from a loan officer, a mortgage broker, to then becoming the bank, determining and buying the debt was such a huge, like, leap forward that I was just thinking to myself, this is fucking awesome. Like, because of these losses, I have propelled myself 20 years ahead of schedule. So sometimes, you know, you have to take a couple steps backwards in order to take, you got to take 2 steps backwards to take 3 steps forward. And these losses, I felt like was like that slingshot effect where I was just losing everything, propelling myself. And then once that was released, I just jumped so far forward. And it was only because of timing, persistence, lack of sleep. Like, during that time before, freaking Facebook took off, it was MySpace and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I made so much I made so many contacts, wasted so much time through, like, daisy chain bullshit. The one thing I was really good at was finding the source of assets. That was my biggest strength. I was able to make a phone call, get a hold of the correct asset manager, bullshit with them, understand what they were going through. When I mean what they were going through, I started understanding how to read the FDIC's websites. I started understanding what camel ratings were. I started then targeting banks with 3+ camel ratings, so I understood what their balance sheet looked like. So they tell me, we don't need your help. And I go, fuck you. You do need my help. I could tell you $750 million in non-accruals in your hospitality sector. Let's stop bullshitting each other. Because I did that first successful trade with the first hotelier, he put me in contact with all, his friends and family. Hey, can you help me? Can you help me? The Indian community is a very tight community, as are many cultural communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in with them. If you're in, you're in. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Then you have operators going, hey, I've got a shit ton of cash. I'd like to buy more hotels.
I need a deal. Yeah.
I've got debt. I could trade you the debt. We can work something out. And that just became this thing that just did really, really well. A part of me wishes I would have stayed doing that at the time full time. But at the time I was making money. And I'm like, you know what? I don't ever want to have only one source of income ever again, because I saw what happened. And it was funny because one of my mentors, Kent, he said, you have PTSD. And I was like, well, it's military. A lot of guys. He's like, no, dude, you have PTSD.
Yeah, financial PTSD.
Yeah, you have PTSD because you had one source of income, and now you have fucking 12 different businesses.
Yeah.
And you're running yourself like crazy, because the way he said it, I never heard that. I never even thought about it like that. At the time, my buddy Wall Street, we called him Wall Street. He was a Wall Street guy. He said, a wise man has more than one oil well. And we're talking 2009. And when he said that, it really hit me. I was like, dude, you know what? I literally had all my eggs in the mortgage business. This is all I had. I had no other passive income. I was making money like crazy. I didn't have one fucking rental property. I had toys, convertibles, and multiple motorcycles. I had no other assets. So as I made money, I go, you know what? I've always wanted to like have an appraisal business and a mortgage business and this business and that. So I started kind of formulating this plan of how I could eventually create multiple verticals and have a little bit of money on every single piece of the transaction that the regular real estate transaction, is involved in. So we went ahead and we've opened up a P&C business. I invested in one. The title business was, the evolution of that. The construction business is something that happened by accident. I had, I shared the story. We were doing a spooky stories yesterday at our meetup, and I talk about how an opportunity, if you see an opportunity and you exploit that opportunity, too many people are very transactional, and they'll do one transaction with someone, then they're afraid to say, hey, do you have anything else? I'm really good at saying, hey, do you have anything else? That's one of my strengths. I'm very persistent. So I started trading debt to hedge funds. And then I would ask the question, hey, what are you guys going to do with this? Well, we're going to go through the whole process of foreclosure, so on and so forth. When I realized at the time, there was a lot of great capital raisers that they didn't have the infrastructure in place. So you'd have like an investment bank, hedge fund, they'd raise a bunch of capital, they'd buy a bunch of non-performing notes, and they didn't have a nationwide network of realtors to be able to do door knocks and give people the opportunity. So I came back because I already had this nationwide network of realtors that I did short sales with. When I was advertising, they gave me all this business across the country. In exchange, I said, hey, I've got a nationwide network of realtors within my company. And they go, well, listen, can you help us do door knocks? I said, absolutely. So the same realtors that gave me their business, because no one knew how to do short sales at the time, I turned around and said, hey, I'm giving them an opportunity to become an REO agent. So I started creating a little profit share for myself there. And that turned around to like, listen, man, we need help figuring out a contractor network, looking up MSI and all these companies. I'm like, all right, cool. One of the asset managers said, hey, we have a house in Ocala. I'm like, okay. They're like, we don't have a contractor there. Can you help us out? I'm like, absolutely. I looked at the house. I go, can I do this? They said, yeah, we don't give a shit. I fully disclose it. And that first house was kind of sketchy because I'm in the middle of a freaking, in Ocala, Florida, 2 hours away from my house. And I see this murder house, all right? And I see the giant pool of blood right there and shotgun shells, little fragments everywhere. So clearly I got to play a CSI investigator. I'm like, the guy was shot here. There was a struggle, and then he low crawled over here, and then he got hit again over there. So I solved the murder. Jeez. Right. And then that resulted into a $7,000 profit, me doing the little renovation. I turned that into $1 million business that year. Okay. That led into me doing renovations for banks. And that eventually led to me doing 3,500 remodels for banks in the Southeast region of the United States. That was something that just turned into a very wildly profitable business. So the capital markets was really good, but I started looking at this going, wow, you know what? It got to the point where I was making free money because I can do my own rehabs, or I could do the bank rehabs. Right. And I can make so much more money, and I only have to advance so much capital. Right. So, and if they fuck up, I'm going to lien their property and I win. So it was a win-win situation for me, which to some degree also impacted me, because when I started doing my own rehabs again, they go, well, you've done 3,500 remodels, but where's your current portfolio? What have you done here recently? I'm like, well, I've done all this, and this paid me so much more money than my return over here, which then I had to build that experience again, So that kind of led into, the evolution of me becoming a general contractor, and even that, how many times I would work overnight shifts just to get free experience. I'd literally go to general contractors like, listen, that's a 4-story structure. I need to get my experience. I'm going to work for you for free. The guy goes, no, you're not. Get off my property. And I show up there grabbing shit. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm working for you for free. I'm going to be right here. And the guy's like, dude, get off my property. I'm like, you don't understand. I am staying here. I'm working for you for free. And I just wouldn't take no for an answer. And I'd show up every single day. The guy goes, come on, let's go. Let me show you how to do this. Let me show you how to lay out floor. Put me on as a foreman. And I worked my ass off for free. 2 years, working my ass off. And people didn't know that. I'm just sitting there moonlighting. So too many people don't want to do the work. They don't want to put the input in order to get the output, right? They want things without putting in the work. And I'm not afraid of work, dude. I've seen people lose their hands and their feet. And the way I look at it, if I have 2 hands, God's given me the ability to work. It's irresponsible for me to not put everything I have into everything that I do.
One of the things I heard you say, and I picked up on this, is when you transition to the notes, right? I heard you say I had no idea what I was doing. And half the times, even with stuff, I've been doing this 9 going on 10 years now. And like every new venture, whether it's a new development, a bigger project that we've never done, most of the time for me, it feels like I'm just figuring this shit out as I go, man. You know what I mean? Like we're just taking the very next step and then we're figuring it out. How important is that skill? Because it's a thing that I see commonly come up with people that are successful, not just in this business, but entrepreneurs in general. They go, they don't have to have the whole thing figured out. They just take that first step and then they just work through it as they go along.
Entrepreneurs jump off the cliff and they build the airplane on the way down. And too many people get stuck in this analysis paralysis mode where they think they have to know every single thing about something. And those are great operators. Those are great people that you hire to run certain verticals. They don't necessarily equate to being, good entrepreneurs. Not always. I have winged so much shit in my life that I've built skills based on my errors, and I'm a firm believer that I could tell you about my struggle of losing a house and you can maybe learn that lesson. But until you lose that house, until you take that loss, that's something that, through consultation and mentorship, you can compress that time and avoid that. However, the true lessons that if you're smart, you learn from it. You can't take that away from me, and you can't take that away from a lot of people. So I'm a firm believer that burn the fucking chips, man. Jump off that cliff, do whatever you have to do in order to figure out a way to be successful. Because if you jump, you're already flying. You might be falling, but there's nothing else you can do. You can fall and you can complain about you falling, or you can be falling down and figure out, maybe I could take off my shirt and maybe I can make a fucking parachute. Maybe I can take off my pants and try to capture some air. Let me do something here to prevent or soften that fall, where too many people are going, that's a little sketchy. I'm not sure if I should do that or not, and that's fine, because as I read a long time ago, the world needs ditch diggers too, and people that are willing to jump off the cliff, and there's some people that need to lay pipe, or run electrical cord. And there's nothing wrong with that, at all. There's nothing. We need that in our life, in our world, So that's just my position on it.
Real quick, let's go to some of these comments. JD Moore, if you're going through hell, why stop? Golden, I want to run through a fucking wall after hearing this. Damn, son. Fire. And then real quick, shout out to our boy Pat Hilton. Anyone that hates this show hates success. Imagine being so closed-minded that you see this and cry about the men on screen winning. Only a pink-haired crybaby loser with pronouns in their bio would do that. Winners cheer for winners. Shout out my boy Pat. This one real quick. People or systems make or break a scalable and profit business. You want to answer that one? I mean, I have a certain opinion on it. So what do you think it is? What makes or breaks a profitable, scalable business?
Well, people and systems can make or break it. Like I alluded to here, I spent $400,000 this last year and a half on bad labor. I said a bad hire can cost you $50,000. A bad hire can also bankrupt you. There's certain things that, if the company has the ability to absorb certain losses, you could take certain losses as lessons. I'll never forget, years ago, I went to a Get Motivated seminar, and I think the CEO of HP was talking about how one of their employees made $1 million mistake. And the question was, what would you do? And everyone's like, fucking fire him. Of course, he's an idiot. And HP said, why would I fire someone that I just spent $1 million to train them? And that was something that really kind of impacted me. And I go, holy shit, that's freaking serious. To fire them, I took the L, right? That person will never make that mistake again, right? And if they do, then, shame on me, but the reality is people have to have skin in the game, and they have to have some kind of vesting. And if there's nothing that holds someone to a company, and I think that's where, good company culture comes in and everything else. If you don't have good systems in place, then that's where I believe the people, come into place, because a good person can offer input to the leadership to say, hey, this shit's fucking broken. I'm going to create this process for you. Right. And that's where I believe that good people will create good systems. It's up to you as a leader to try to set the foundation. But the more you scale and the more you grow, you don't know these little breaks in your business channels. right? The more you're looking, look, a CEO's job or leadership is to look at the horizon, right? You have to be able to tell whether or not you have storms coming in. I can't be the person that's paddling the boat and also looking for safety and making sure that I'm navigating here correctly, right? So, that's where you have to trust people to say, hey, if something's wrong, bring it up. And that's why there's certain business models like traction that I do love. Let's discuss it. Identify, discuss, and solve. What's the issue right now? Let's discuss it. Let's solve it. What's holding us back? If there's no problems in a business, there's a fucking problem in a business. Okay. For your staff to tell you everything's peachy and everything's good, well, if the numbers are good and everything's happy, then obviously you're having traction, you're having momentum, everything's going really well. But I believe that every business has a problem,
especially if it's growing. If it's growing, there's just going to be more problems. Like more and more problems should compound because stuff breaks because you reach the system limit.
And as you're growing and as you're scaling, you're going to have more and more problems. And that gets very, very stressful, because you can start growing, and then you lose a couple key leaders. You're like, shit, now you're regressing because now you have all this extra growth and now you're having to pick up the slack and find people. And I found myself through that challenge. I mean, look, while I have a great deal of success, I also have a world of fucking problems. But these were problems. I'm looking at myself right now, and these are problems that I wish I had. So when I'm stressed out, I'm thinking, why am I doing this? Do I really need to make $1 million right now, this month, this quarter? I fucking begged to have these problems 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Who the fuck am I to complain about the things that I wish I had? So with growth comes problems and comes, more money, more problems. It's a fucking saying. It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
But also it's not necessarily just that. It's the true, you're dealing with people, as you're growing, you're hiring more people. You have the people component here, and you have the bullshit. You have the lack of dedication. You start depending on people and they don't show up. You have the excuses, you have the car breakdowns, you have the baby mama problems, all the shit that people happen to have. And as a leader, you're like, fuck, all right, shit happens. You got to understand that, you have to deal with people, but you also have to deal with people, meaning those people have problems, and those problems affect your business. And that business, it's a cyclical effect. So, to some degree, it's like, what do? Do you not grow then? Do you not hire more people? Maybe do you create a business model that you don't need any of that shit? Certain business models, you don't have to deal necessarily with the magnitude of that kind of scale. For example, syndicating apartment complexes, you have to deal with a property manager, maybe an engineer on site, managing a renovation project. But once everything's nice and stable, you hire a couple people, they're dealing with that. You don't need a massive team for something like that. So there's certain business models that can avoid a lot of these problems. I'm just a fucking masochist, I guess. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out a way to grow multiple businesses at the same time. And I guess I'm just dealing with what I am forcing myself to deal with.
Bro, I heard you say, Robert, I'm going to insert something really quick, man. I heard you say something, Robert, earlier that piqued an interest. You can compress your learning curve by being around mentorship, masterminds, things like that. Did you embrace that early on in your journey? Like being in a paid mastermind or paying for coaching, or did it take you a while?
It took me way too long. First of all, I was a cheap bastard. I don't know how else to say it. I was like, you know what? No, I could take, are you kidding me? You want so much money? I could do this myself. I want to spend that money on marketing. Did I spend the money on marketing? No, I didn't. No. I found another way to use that money. So, I've spent over the last 3 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars on different coaching and mentorship and traveling and meeting people and putting myself in the right circles. And at the same token, I'm looking at people that are a year and a half, 2 years in this business that are in the same room that I am. And that's taken me 20 years to get in this room. And I'm going, you're doing how much money per year on just one business? Fuck me. I should have cut the check a long time ago. And I'm of the belief that, like, I'll figure it out, and there's entrepreneurs that are like that. You'll go to a free seminar, you'll hear 2 or 3 pieces of information. You're like, well, at a 10-step process, I got 3 of the 10. That means I got to figure out 7. Got it. No problem. Yeah. And then next, you're like you're 75 years old when you're 40, because you stress yourself out trying to figure this shit out. Had I have paid for mentorship earlier, had I have gotten off the wallet, again, there was difficult times. I went through the crash. There was reasons where I had to be a lot more responsible with the money that I had. But even when I made it, meaning when I had a big windfall, did I put myself in the right rooms? No, I thought to myself, I need to fix problems. I need to get more businesses, not How can I improve my business? Who can I look to for a mentor? And that was my arrogance, because I was too proud to ask for help. I've always been too proud to ask for help. I don't know if it's this machismo type of thing of me growing up, in a Cuban family. When I ask for help, you're like, oh, I'll do it myself. And then running away at 14. And then just this whole concept of like, I'll do it on my own. That's something that has significantly held me back. If I would have paid for mentorship 15 years ago, I could only imagine the animal, the beast that I would be right now. I'd probably be a lot closer to being the Blackstone that I want to be. I probably would have learned about, all right, I've traded over $1 billion in multifamily assets in Texas alone. Okay. I got the spreadsheets. Flipped $1 billion worth of multifamily assets in Texas alone from buying the debt and trading the debt. And I didn't know what the fuck the capital stack was. I didn't understand how to raise just 5%. I looked at these deals going, my God, this is such a good deal. I'm getting rid of an $80 million complex for $40 million, pennies on the dollar. Okay. I don't have $40 million. You don't know what you don't know. Okay. And I saw syndication, like, what the hell is a syndication? That's a funny sounding word. I don't have time for that. I know how to trade debt. That's shame on me. That's shame on me. I got to the point where I started realizing, hey man, I'm getting to the point where I think I know too much. And this is where that cocky arrogance came in, going, I don't need this. That was my fucking fault. And this is the issue going, now I'm like this, I embrace everything. What do you got? What's going on? What's funny is that if you constantly stay learning, I think that the longer you do this business, the things you forget are the things that can change other people's lives. Right? Like I'll have someone new comes to my office and he goes for a little pop-up. He goes, hey man, I'm not sure if you heard, but have you guys ever heard of this new thing called wholesaling? And I'm like, what the fuck? Dude. But my point is that message has now just turned a light on in someone's, in a dark room for somebody. It lit someone's, fire to say, hey, there's a new opportunity. And when I hear certain things like Gator lending or sub 2, I love PACE. Sub 2 has been around forever. Subject to mortgage has been around since the existence of mortgage. This is not a new concept. But he did a great job branding it, and he's attracted a whole tribe, and he's doing something really good. It's impacting the lives of many people. So good for him and good for the people that find significant value in that. Where before, I'll be honest with you, my struggle and my rising up through the ranks, so to say, when I did subject to financing and creative financing, I did it because I didn't have any money, right? And I felt that at the time, for me to do these type of deals, it's because I didn't have the cash, and it's not something you bragged about. When I'm dealing with investors, like, oh, I've got tens of millions of dollars. I'm like, well, I got this deal for no money down or for $5,000. Oh shit, let me not talk about that. Now people are making whole businesses out of it. I'm going, you know what? And they should be, because that right there is teaching people how to get into something that they otherwise would not have been able to get into. And it's just education, and people are paying for this mentorship, and good for people that are going out of their way and sacrificing money and probably arguing with their spouses or their family because saying you don't understand. If you take action on it, it'll be worthwhile. But you know how many course junkies I'm sure we've all met? You know how many people I've met over the last 20 years that said, I bought
success junkies.
I bought Carlton Sheets program and it sat on my bookshelf for 10 years. The shit works. The same shit he was teaching 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago works.
Same. Just repackaged and now on social now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sub 2. And again, nothing against it. I'm not saying anything against it, but it's Gator lending. It's this. It's freaking the wraps. Dude, it's the same shit, but you're delivering it in a method that people are absorbing and good for them, because you know what? The more education that people get, the greater the opportunity for people's success. Rising tide lifts all ships. If you're able to do that and provide education, fucking run it.
Bro, okay, I got a couple things. Number one, bro, I saw you like 2 or 3 events in a row. When was it? Like when 2020 and 2021, like we just didn't even know that we were going to the same events. Like I saw you at a book writing conference.
Yep.
I saw you like boardroom, and then I think you came and spoke at my mastermind. I saw you like one other one, which speaks to like how much you invest in yourself. And then, so we'll cover this comment real quick because I think it'll be a good one. Then I want to talk about cultivating your friend group, because we were talking about this earlier. I'm friends with all your friends, but you guys have a great, like, small knit friend group that's really hard to find. Okay, this will change a lot of you people who are new's life, period, with these answers. After you already learn it, Why keep spending more and more to learn the same thing? Or what am I missing? I couldn't fathom paying hundreds of thousands for a lot of different events, but it's probably because I'm broke. It is. I'm not going to say it's because you're broke, but you're broke because you just don't understand the concept yet. Right?
Yeah.
You're not paying for the same info over and over again. The biggest difference between anybody in life is their ability to learn skills, implement skills, and then go learn a new thing and stack it on top of it. We're not going to the same event over and over and over again. I'm going, and let's say I call Jason and I'm like, Jason, I have this issue. Or Robert, I have this issue. How should I solve this? And they'll both give me an answer. Then I'm going to go implement it. And then I'm going to come back to both of them like, yo, I did it, but now I got this issue. What should I do? That is exactly why we go and we pay for new rooms. So Robert and Robert met at a book writing conference that this dude, it was like $100,000 to write a book with the guy. And then we met at another mastermind, and then we met at another mastermind. But there's always new devils at everything you do, because just like Jason said, I don't know shit about what I'm currently doing. If I did, I would be doing something else. It's just like kind of the nature of the beast. I'll let you guys handle the rest.
I'm very similar to Robert. Because I figured everything out on my own at the beginning, because I didn't have money. I was rock bottom, dragged along the bottom for a couple years. So I didn't have money to invest in coaching and mentorships and these other things. So I was all podcasts and YouTube University and just trial and error. And I relied on that gear for so long because I found success, because I'm just similar, man. Like, I'm just going to do it until this shit works. There's no plan B. So we have to make this happen. Right. And so that worked for me, but I waited too long to compress that learning curve. And Strat is 100% right. It's these things that we can figure out on our own. Frankly, like, we're all smart enough to figure it out. But do I want to take 6, 9, or 12 months through trial and error? Or do I want to make one phone call to Robert and be like, what would you do here, bro? And that one call saves me 12 months. And how much more money am I going to make in that 12 months? And that's what you guys, the reason why a lot of people struggle with investing in any coaching or mastermind groups or anything, I know what I did, is because they don't properly value their time. They're not valuing their time properly. They have a higher value on the cash that they've accumulated, and instead of deploying that cash to get the outcome that they want to happen faster, they feel like because they bootstrapped it, they can bootstrap everything. And once you reach a certain level of success, your time becomes more valuable, and you've got to learn how to invest your money to compress, like Robert said, your learning curve, man. I'll let Robert chime in too.
Yeah. So with this comment, look, the one thing I love about real estate is that there is so many different verticals within real estate, so many different ways to make money. So if I know how to flip properties, and I know how to flip properties, I'm the best at flipping properties. I'm the best at what I think I know about flipping properties. But if someone were to say, hey man, have you thought about doing this? That one little shift can make or break your next deal. And that's the difference, is that you think you know what you think you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And that's the beautiful part about having a good peer group, is that different set of eyes. I was just listening to a new book, and I forgot what the hell it was on Audible this morning, and it was this whole thing about mindset. And it was Napoleon Hill talking about, it wasn't Think and Grow Rich, which is an amazing book, but it was Napoleon Hill commenting about Andrew Carnegie, however you pronounce it, about his concepts of masterminds, and how an elite group of individuals, or just a group of individuals, can get together and have freedom of thought and to talk about certain things that you have no idea how many times, and this happens constantly. Us three right now, we can be talking. I go, ooh, I'm out. What happened? He got the idea. He got what he needed. And I literally just bolt out of the room. I come back. I go, dude, thank you so much. You just said one small little thing. That's exactly what I need. I didn't even think about that. Okay. And I can give you examples of this. That one just happened here recently at a boardroom event. With respect to a fund structure that I've got going on. I just had this aha moment where I ran out going, what the fuck? I spent $70,000 on these docs and doing all this shit, and I didn't even think about this. And I'll be honest with you, I had this concept of this perceived notion of this individual on stage, and I fucking love the dude. He was on there, he blew my fucking mind, and he said a couple things that I couldn't absorb enough. And I walked out of there going, hey, change of plans. We're doing everything different right now. We're going to reorganize this. I just had the aha moment. So you're robbing yourself of the aha moment because you're putting a a preconceived notion in your mind that we're just going to get together and talk wholesaling. We're going to talk multifamily. You're missing is the aha moment, that one strategy, that one little shift in your in your perception of how to do certain things. So that's that. Another thing is people don't value what they don't pay for. Over the last 20 years, I've gotten burnt out over answering the same shit over and over and over from people that they don't take any action on something. Whereas, for example, if I pay to go to these events, guess what? I don't give a shit how this sounds. I pay to be Strat Daddy's fucking friend because I go to these events, and if I didn't pay for them, I wouldn't have met him.
Yep.
And I hate to say it like that, but sometimes you got to pay to play, because by me paying, I get involved in certain circles that now I don't have to reach out and say, hey, buddy, can I buy you a cup of coffee? No, dude, I fucking got 20,000 fucking friends. I'm busy. I don't know who you are from anybody else. Oh, you're reaching out to me to ask me for something. Again, you and 50,000 other fucking people, right? But by me paying to go to these events over and over and over, I get to see certain people. We get to know each other. I get a phone call from you, not a problem, man. What's going on? How can I help you? Yep. Why? Because I know that he invests in himself. People that go to these events, they invest in themselves. So when I take a phone call from somebody that I know that invests in themselves, they're not going to waste my time because they're not going to waste their time. So that's just a different perception of looking at it. That's the way I look at it anyhow.
Oh, and the ultimate yield on your money is in yourself.
Yeah.
No matter what, the biggest return on your investment will be investing in your skills, no matter what anybody says. Last question for me, bro. How have you been able to find and cultivate your great friend group? And I'll just name off a couple. Q, I mean, his wholesaling company is massive. Nobody even knows how big his wholesaling company is. And then he's a savage syndicator in the storage space. You have Los, who's an amazing marketer. You have you're a killer entrepreneur. Where did you guys find each other and like maintain it? I feel like the best thing I have is like me, Dean, and Jason traveling all the time. And then like we have our own little mastermind all the time talking about, hey, what's new? What are you doing? How are you handling this? And that's been awesome for me.
All right. So Los and I, we have an interesting past here. In that when we first met each other, he's like, I don't fucking like this guy. I'm like, I don't fucking like this guy either. You know, Kent hated me. Los is, they're best friends. They hated me. I'm like, fuck these guys. Yeah. And then we clicked. We just started hanging out. And then Los ends up, he lives fucking 40 minutes from my house. We became like best friends over here. We just hang out. We travel together. I spend weekends, we spend weekends together, in different like little mini trips. We rent Airbnbs, we kind of hang out. I know his wife, I know his daughters, we have other friend groups. And again, that happened as a byproduct of going to the boardroom and meeting people here. Q has been, Q's a big wholesaler in the area. And, he was a client of ours through my title company in the past. And we never again really clicked. By going to these boardroom events and just kind of hanging out, a natural kind of friendship has occurred there. Dude, we've gone Colorado, we've gone skiing, we've gone to Colorado, I think twice, freaking Switzerland, Germany, just different places that we meet and we traveled because where do I meet everyone at? Even though they're in my own backyard, even though they're big players in this space, I met them by going to paid events and by hanging out with them and realizing, oh shit, you're in my own backyard? That's something's a game changer because there's a lot of people here that I don't even know that are here that end up going to the boardroom. They go, hey, I joined boardroom because I see you're in it and I'm right here in Orlando. Can we talk? Can we have some lunch? Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Had they have reached out to me, I'd be like, dude, I'm fucking busy. Leave me alone. I don't mean to say that, but it's not that I'm trying to be disrespectful. I have very little time. And I'm realizing this, the busier I'm getting and the more I'm trying to grow my business is that my time is very, very valuable. And I don't have a lot of it. Like literally every time I try to sit down and work, it's like fucking, I got 20 kids over here. Hey dad.
Bing,
hey,
bing,
dad,
bing. Yep.
Literally like yesterday, I had 3 people coming to my office and they all started firing. I'm like, what the fuck? Do you guys not hear each other all talking at the same time? And then as I said that, the 4th person came and they started talking. They're all talking and I'm going, I got it all. You do this, take care of this, blah, blah, blah. Why are you even bothering me with that stupid ass question? You should be underwriting this. And I answered everyone's questions. But it was interesting the way I was able to receive all that. But my point is that my time is limited. And again, I need more people, need more managers, need more people to block that. But again, these are IDS. These are things I've identified, I've discussed, and we're looking for solutions for them. But in short, man, that's how I met them, is going to different events that I pay to go to. And I mean, shit, Q and I were just together last night at the Highest and Best. Los and I were just together a couple nights ago at some bar, hanging out, doing something, and all these relationships were cultivated by going to paid events.
Bro, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find out more about you?
Passive Income Cash Flow Kings on Instagram. And stay tuned, man. We're redeveloping. I'm getting my GC license. I'm expanding. I'm becoming a regional builder. So I'm a state certified general contractor here in Florida. We plan on building several hundreds of homes, affordable housing. We're going to do the same thing in North Carolina. We're going to start working our way from North Carolina on down and kind of capture the states in between. The goal here is over the next 10 years, we want to do at least 5,000 homes. And I just said that right now. So now I got to stick to it.
Let's get it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Get it.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Jason, awesome connecting with you, meeting you here.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm going to connect with you offline, dude, for sure, bro. I resonated. Everything that you said resonated with me, dude. I'd love to connect and just follow along on the journey, man. I appreciate your time.
Sounds good. If anything I can do to help you guys, obviously hit me up. Anyone else, pay for the damn event.
Love it.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
boys.